Mr. Chairman, through you, I know when taking up the post as Minister of Vromi, there were and continue to be quite, I don't know if to say a disconnect as to what the possibilities are, because clearly my colleague on the right and my colleague on the left differ from opinion in terms of what is allowed and what isn't allowed. I've been following what was there, and I would like to know from the minister if this is the case where, because for instance, what we've seen is in one instance, someone would apply for, let's just say, a water sports license or a restaurant license to operate on a beach. And I've had cases where they would then present to me a license from TIAT, so allowing them to operate without even having a location. And for me, I think that it should be the other way around. It's logically to be the other way around. So for me, Mr. Chairman, through you, I would like to know from the minister, are there cases like that pending now? If so, has there, because I know we started with my previous colleagues of TIAT at the time to sort of streamline it, whereas you first have to have the spot before you get the right to operate and or use. Has this been streamlined in the meantime? Is this what we speak about when in terms of merging the two beach policies together? Because there are also certain instances where persons don't pay for rental of space with beach shares, and others have to pay for rental of space with beach shares, which to me is unfair because they are already starting at a disadvantage, those that have to pay. So, Mr. Chairman, through you to the honorable ministers, has this been already streamlined in terms of what is allowed, what isn't allowed? I will leave it there for now.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, according to our department, there's no request like that at the moment, but MP Duran made a strong, I agree with exactly what he stated, and that is exactly what will be taken in. It should go to Vromi first to make sure that the land is approved, it's available, and then come to TIA. Those are the type of collaboration that will be seen in the policy as well. And I don't know if the Minister of Vromi has more to add to that, but that's all I can say on that thus far.
Before the meeting, I did have the conversation with the previous Minister of Vromi concerning the same situation with the policies. And when I heard the meeting started with the integration of both policies, I was like, hey, yes, okay, finally. But I'm going to take it a little further by asking this question. We are speaking about activities on an existing building or within an existing building, and that is the collaboration between Vromi and TIAT. But what is even more important is that before one invests in putting a building up, that is automatically, it is said right away, hey, I am going to do business on this location, that Vromi gets in touch with TIAT, and TIAT then says, yes, this type of business on this location will be allowed, because it makes absolutely no sense that the building permit is granted, the individual then, or the individuals build the building, and then they are not allowed to do the business that they initially started there. That is opening a court case. And most of the times when we end up in court, or when government ends up in court, to the judge, they don't speak about Vromi and TIAT, they speak about government. And if there's no collaboration in government, then that has nothing to do with the justice system itself. So my suggestion, when we were in the ministry, I had a conversation with the chief of staff of Vromi then, and I asked her, do you think that it would be possible that when someone submits a building permit, that right away that building permit, if it will be if you would have to request a business license, that goes automatically. So from Vromi, they get in touch with TIAT, and then TIAT says, yes, we would have no problem with this, and then the building permit is granted, and not that it is built and then vice versa. So that would be my suggestion when it comes to the collaboration between Vromi and TIAT, aligning both things. So not just for buildings that already exist, but also buildings that are going to be built.
Of course, the stipulation in the civil code is very broad. What is considered a limitation? Trying to find a good word, a good translation for the beperking, because if I have to go out of my way to get to a public beach because of whatever structures or whatever have you is on the beach, that to me would be kind of beperking the public nature of the beach. When I received just recently from some residents in Fort William, complaints with them getting to the beach. I don't think it's that they can't get there, but rather what they got to do to get to a public beach. So I would just advise, also listening to the request by the Minister of TIAT in terms of giving input into the drafting of the policy, that this matter be looked into. And then again, yes, given the state of the property of Mullet Bay and the beach, of course, at Mullet Bay, I think special attention needs to be paid urgently to that matter. That's what I want to put here. And when I say that, I mean because of the developments that are taking place and the sale or not of Mullet Bay, et cetera, and what potential buyers, and hopefully the government will be part of that, but I know how my colleague to my left feels about that. But, you know, whoever, that there's some conditions with respect to that.
The suggestion from the Honourable MP La Cruz through you, activities, defining what activities are allowed before a vending license is issued, of course, given the amount of money it costs. Agreed, nothing that's currently being done, in particular in areas where, not necessarily the beach, but generally other areas on the island where people are asking for vending licenses, and there is already established collaboration between the ministries, and in particular very strong between two ministers regarding making sure that those areas are actually usable for now. So the suggestion is well founded as well. And then moving on to the point from MP Westcott Williams, completely agree, and I think the first step actually is defining how do you define access? Because legally you have to have access to a public beach. Is that access meaning a 3-meter wide gap every 200 meters, or is it necessarily access through the restaurant? And by definition now, access just means that there is some way to get on this beach, no matter how, you know, hard it may be. But I think within our policy, we really have to look about how we define what access means.
I believe that the access should be defined as access by medical personnel. So access to all beaches should be wide enough that ambulance service, police officers will have direct access to get as close to the beach as possible. I think that is where we have missed, because typically now the access to the beaches is just a track. It's a small little track, and in the case of emergencies, that small little track is not enough for ambulance services.
I do believe, seeing that it's a discussion that we're currently having, I can only imagine how the public might view it, and therefore, although we have Article 26 of Book 5, it's pretty broad. And I do believe, if I, for example, compare it to neighboring countries such as Curacao, where for a lot of beaches you charge, and on St. Martin that's not the case, the accessibility should be pretty clear and not made difficult for the public, because often you see that, for example, business owners who have different chairs on beaches, that the ones that would like to make use of the beach are being sometimes bullied, like, no, you're not allowed to sit here, or you have to pay a certain amount to sit in this area. I even imagine that if you want to sit first row, let's say you have a towel and you would like to sit on the first row, without making use of that beach chair, it can become an issue. And the question is that allowed? So I do believe that it needs to be made clear in policy so that everyone can understand what is allowed, what's not allowed, without any consequences being faced. Because how I look at the law, but that's an interpretation, and yeah, as a lawyer, you always have interpretation forms, and I do believe you need to make it clear for everyone to understand that beperking van de openbaarheid, once that takes place, without having the bijzondere toestemming, it becomes an issue. So the first article, lid 1, is stating that it is eigendom van het land and the accessibility should be made accessible for everyone to make use of it, unless there's other situation in case. So please, to the honorable ministers, make that policy clear for everyone to understand so that that person can protect themselves by ways of law.
Suggestion posed by MP Roseberg. I just wanted to also maybe state to the members of parliament that something that we're considering as well is maybe having lifeguards, something that we've been, recently a tourist just drowned. So it's something that we also consider, and I know it's going to be costly to have a lifeguard at maybe 2 or 3 of the main public beaches. It's something that we're considering as well to see how we can incorporate it budget-wise. But having a lifeguard policing the beach is also something that we can consider, and maybe have him, empower him with certain authorities to, you know, to man the beaches. So not only for the safety, but also for make sure that everything is running across the board as stipulated by the policy as well. It's something we can look forward to doing as well.
Are you SXM insured? Do you have a valid medical insurance status? SXM is cardless. Request your My SXM account today and enter the virtual office of SXM. Go to sxv.sx and sign up now.
SXM, yeah. Your social and health insurances.
It's time for a new brand that is as bold, vibrant, and colorful as the island of St. Martin, with colors drawn from our diversity, cultural heritage, and nature. Our breathtaking beaches, waters, and sun, the majestic brown pelican, our national symbol, the radiant yellow sage, our national flower, the historic border monument signifying the Dutch and French sides, our exciting cruise, yachting, and boating ports, renowned Maho Beach and St. Martin Airport, the hub to the Caribbean. All these parts come together to create the shape of the island of St. Martin. More than a logo. It's a new brand that engages, excites, and will inspire travelers to book. It's time to tell the St. Martin story, to reintroduce travelers to St. Martin, to honor our past, to embrace our present, and shape our future. Our culture and diversity, Dutch and French sides, unrivaled cuisine, twice the nightlife, entertainment, and shopping, cruises, boating, and yachting, twice the adventure, exploration, and relaxation, splendid and scenic accommodations, Pinel, Tentamar, and island hopping in the Caribbean. Whatever your taste, St. Martin has more. Experience twice the Caribbean. St. Martin.
I took note of all your statements, but one of the things that I think that you didn't mention, and I'm going to ask you about it. Just recently, a couple of days ago, the President-elect of the United States took office. There are some executive orders that he signed, one of them being mass deportation. Does St. Martin have sufficient intelligence to monitor these persons that are going to be deported to neighboring Caribbean islands, and the fact that these people stand a chance of coming into St. Martin? Is there sufficient intelligence to monitor this situation that is going to begin very soon?
Specifically with respect to this, we still have to hunker down and see how we're going to deal with those. Of course, as things pop up, we do address those within immigration. For example, when Trinidad declared a state of emergency at the end of December, immediately we went in, and because of course that affects our border control, knowing that something else is happening within the region. So I think for now we're waiting to see what is going to happen, and then from there we can take steps. But at least we do have systems that are well integrated, that we can take measures to see how we will strengthen our borders, and of course then identify what will be those nationalities that we need to be extra on alert for.
It's clear that St. Martin has plans for a new prison. But the current prison, as I've been doing some research, many refer to it as deplorable. There's questions about the human rights perspective. I understand there's been offers from donors, for example, for gym equipment, educational possibilities. I understand that the therapy that was available for prisoners is not available. So could you give us your assessment of the current situation of the prison? And what are your plans for improvement between now and a new prison? A new prison's only a building. So there's things that could be changed already. So could you give us your current assessment and plans from now until the new prison's in place?
Absolutely, Emil, and thank you for that question. And it's one that is also near and dear to me. I've also done a lot of work in the past with respect to inmates and people in penitentiaries and how we can rehabilitate them back into society. And I think that that's something where we are lacking as a country. We put people there, but we don't have any tools and we don't have any programs to help them reintegrate back into the labor force, back into society. And the new prison we're projecting that it's going to be that it's going to be completed somewhere in 2028. So it's still a long way to go under the current circumstances. We actually do have right now a subsidy that we've received from the Netherlands. Actually, that was received a couple years ago. It was about €1 million subsidy that was meant to kind of bridge the gap between now and when we build a new prison. I requested at the end of December an extension because that subsidy was actually expiring at the end of December last year. So I requested the Dutch government to extend that subsidy. It's been conditionally granted for now, but I have to have a follow-up conversation with the requisite individuals in the Netherlands in order to discuss how I intend to spend those funds within this year, because they're a little bit tired of giving us extensions and us not spending money. But that money is meant for structural repairs. I can't use the money, unfortunately, to hire staff, because I think that is an issue at the prison that we cannot deny, that we have structural understaffing, and that structural understaffing is due to a structural sick leave. And I think that that's understandable in the sense too, because we also have to think about not only the conditions we have prisoners living in, but also the conditions that we have people working under. So I am trying to make an assessment of where can we in the short term use those funds, hopefully with, of course, the approval of our Dutch donors, to use those to have activities for the prisoners. One of the things, for example, is the chapel needed to be repaired. And of course, we don't want to repair an entire structure for a large sum of money while we're building something new. But I think that we can look for an interim solution in the meantime. And I think the woodworking shop was also damaged. We're awaiting material for the sewing room. So the prison is something that has my attention, and we're looking to see how we can structure that. But I'm hoping that I can use that subsidy in this year in order to carry out some projects there that can improve at least the day-to-day for our prisoners, kind of in anticipation of the new prison.
give us an update on the 2% COLA that had to be paid to subsidize schools. Can you tell me if the teachers can actually check their account and said, well, yeah, there's some money there. And at the same time, if you can also tell us about the restructuring of the tax office, especially with them having their own little kingdom, one person in charge of all departments. I wrote an article about that because it's very, I mean, you know, very sad that so many years that this has been happening and you yourself were blamed for making certain decisions. But I'd like to know that since we have passed that stage, where are we now with at least getting the ball rolling at the tax department?
With regard to the 2%, although more of a education topic, I can confirm that all subsidized schools did receive the 2%. I cannot, however, confirm who all actually paid to their respective staff, including the teachers. But I can definitely do a follow-up, and trust you me, I do hear from these teachers or staff members. They do let me know, so just give me some time to go through my messages, and I'll be able to answer you in a future message. As for the kingdom, I stated it in Parliament, and thank you so much for your article, because your article kind of helps to raise even more awareness of what's happening within the tax office. And yes, a kingdom of its own. I am not blaming no one individual in the tax office. What I am saying, it cannot continue to work the way it's working. Clearly, the manner in which things are being done is not working for the government of St. Martin or the people. And I say that to say, and I've said it many times, even earlier this morning in an interview, it cannot be a one-course model fitting everyone. Your personal situation, Mr. Lee's situation versus mine can never be the same. So to ask individuals to pay back whatever is owed within a policy of a 9-month time frame, I think needs to be looked at more carefully. I would like to know who came up with this 9-month policy, to be honest with you. And these and other matters will be addressed, because what I am having, I believe during the month of January, I can't give you the exact date, but during this month, we will be having heads of departments within finance meeting, where I'm expecting to hear from each head what their goal, their vision, their views are for taking this country for 2025. The reason I'm saying that is because I've been hearing there have been no meetings being held within the respective departments by the department heads. They haven't had structural meetings. How else would we know in terms of the employees? How else would they know where you want to take this organization? Yes, it's one thing to know what your job is. It's a next thing to know the direction of your superiors. You know, and I say that to say that I too will be coming with my plan, my vision, my goals, so that everyone is aligned in understanding this is what I expect. And by means of saying that, I think we need to be a more compassionate country. We've had not only Hurricanes Irma and Maria in 2017, we've also had COVID, and we've had a crisis called GEBE. And I say that with the utmost respect to GEBE as well, but we also need to understand that persons cannot, and it's not that they don't want to pay BB. I have been hearing people say, Minister, I want to pay. I just cannot pay within this 9-month frame. Do something, make something possible. So if I'm hearing the cries of the people, I have to address them, and it will be addressed in this upcoming meeting. And as for the statement, so it was actually 3 things, but let me add in this because it's very important. That accusation of me being a Nepo baby, I need to, if it wasn't brought forward before, let me make it clear now that individual to whom I listened to. And this is something I think across all ministries, it was asked by myself in Parliament, come up with a policy on persons who are in acting positions, find out from the relevant ministers how many persons are in acting positions and for how many years. And that is something now that I am going to be tasked with doing. And the reason for that is because, A, we can't continue to use our civil servants. If you believe that this person is qualified for this role, then make it happen. Make the person vast in the position. But to have them 10 years, 10 years acting, no, I think we need to really cut it right now. Look closely at that matter, and I am going to once again dispel that person at the tax office is of no relation to myself. None whatsoever, but I'm very happy to know that her LB was signed yesterday, countersigned by the governor and myself.
Your social and health insurance is your social and health insurance.
Are you SXV insured? Do you have a valid medical insurance status? SXV is cardless. Request your My SXV account today and enter the virtual office of SXV. Go to sxv.sx and sign up now.
Your social and health insurances.
The police say they are maintaining a strong presence in the Ellerslie Pen community of St. Catherine, which was a scene of pandemonium between themselves and residents Wednesday morning.
The police have also released the names of several men they're trying to get a hold of for questioning.
Now, as you'll hear in this report, the police units were damaged while the officers tried to carry out the operation.
The police say they went to the community to apprehend a man they identified as Ronnie Hope. Things got ugly as they were about to leave with him. We were told that residents began hurling stones and other implements at the lawmen. It was at that time the man they came for escaped. Their service vehicles were also damaged.
4 service vehicle tires were slashed.
The police say, upon realizing that the situation had escalated, they took non-lethal action to prevent any loss of life or to prevent further damage to their service vehicles.
Citizens then blocked several roadways. They lit fires to debris along some of the roads leading to Ellerslie Pen. The police, with the help of members from the Jamaica Fire Brigade, managed to clear the roadways.
A resident, however, claimed she was roughed up by the police officers who entered her house asking several questions. She's also accusing the officers of physical abuse.
One of them box me and I drop and I lick up my back, and then 2 of them come over me and I hold me by my marina and I draw me out. So I hold on to another 2 of them foot because them a draw me, so I hold on to another 2, and that's when the next one come and thump me on my head side. Then them lift me up and throw me out and literally throw me and I land right at the door and I lick up. And me and one of them out there start wrestle because them push me and kick me out the door and say, stay out there. So
the police are now asking the following men to present themselves for questioning: Ronnie Hope or Ron, Tajrin Balfour, Glenn White or Bally, Kevin White or Twin, Shamar Demar or Boise, a man known only as Ranger or Prezi. Kirk Wright, TVJ News.